Welcome back to another explainer. Today we're taking a deep breath, filtering out the noise and distilling a massive influx of global information into one clear, connected narrative. Our world is moving incredibly fast right now, and to really make sense of it all, we absolutely have to step back and look at the big picture. So, what exactly happens when war, extreme weather, and viral hoaxes literally collide on a single day? Well, let's dive right into that question. We're going to unpack 15 high-stakes headlines from July 18th to reveal just how deeply interconnected our fragile world really is. It's not just that a lot happened today. It's that all these events, from massive geopolitical strife to the devices sitting right in our pockets, are basically colliding all at once. To keep things organized, here's our agenda for today. We'll hit global conflicts and geopolitics, weather and natural disasters, public health and safety, politics, cyber and policy, and finally, sports and culture. Let's kick things off with Section 1, Global Conflicts and Geopolitics. This particular conflict escalated incredibly fast. It started with a deadly proxy attack on a U.S. base over in Jordan, which tragically left 2 American troops dead and 1 missing. And that event led directly to 7 consecutive nights of intense U.S. airstrikes inside Iran, completely collapsing a massive logistics tower at a key port. But the ripple effects definitely don't stop at the borders of those 2 nations. If we zoom out a bit, we can see how this conflict is actively blowing up regional resource anxieties. Tehran retaliated with ballistic missiles and drone swarms hitting U.S. allied nations, specifically Qatar and Kuwait. And most critically, they severely damaged a vital desert water desalination plant in Kuwait. This is a huge deal, crippling critical civilian water supplies in an environment that is already incredibly vulnerable. 7. That is the number of Palestinians killed in central Gaza today when an Israeli drone struck a civilian gathering. This actually happened during a funeral procession right outside the Ahmad Yassin Mosque in the Nuseirat refugee camp. The strike wounded 19 others and completely blew past the fragile, active ceasefire in the territory. It just goes to show you how quickly these local agreements can shatter into pieces. Meanwhile, if we shift over to Eastern Europe, a major strategic pivot by Kyiv has left massive damage in areas like Elektrostal, just outside Moscow. There's this relentless nocturnal Ukrainian drone campaign targeting energy and military sites deep inside Russia. It's left 9 dead and dozens wounded. This really showcases how drone warfare is continuing to penetrate deep into the Russian homeland, literally bringing the reality of the front lines straight into civilian and energy centers. Moving right along, here is Section 2, Weather and Natural Disasters. Systemic fragility isn't just caused by armies, it's also driven by the overwhelming, completely unpredictable force of nature. We saw massive infrastructure failure on a global scale today. Down in the Gulf of Tehuantepec, a powerful 7.3 magnitude earthquake shook buildings as far away as Mexico City and Guatemala City, which forced mass evacuations in Tapachula. Then halfway across the world, Typhoon Bavi just completely wiped out cellular and internet grids throughout the South China Sea corridor. And back in the U.S., historic rainfall in the Texas Hill Country prompted game wardens to deploy these next-generation automated emergency flood response units to get people out of low-lying communities. So the globe is literally shaking, flooding, and disconnecting all at the exact same time. Which brings us to Section 3, Public Health and Safety. 27. That staggering number represents the states currently impacted by a CDC-confirmed Cyclospora parasite outbreak. This diarrhea-causing bug was traced definitively to shredded iceberg lettuce imported from Mexico, specifically served at Taco Bell and Taylor Farms locations. It triggered an immediate, massive, multi-state recall right away. It really goes to show just how incredibly vulnerable our highly connected global food supply chains actually are. Now, this next situation played out like a giant puzzle. New York City health officials did some incredibly diligent investigative work. First, they detected a respiratory Legionnaire's disease outbreak. Then they conducted rigorous environmental tracing. And finally, they managed to isolate the contaminated water systems directly inside the iconic Guggenheim Museum. But while they did solve the puzzle, tragically, officials have just confirmed the first fatality linked to this specific outbreak at the museum. The intersection of conflict and health is just devastatingly clear here. The World Health Organization is sounding the alarm right now because more than 12 violent insurgent attacks have targeted health facilities and medical personnel in the Eastern Democratic Republic or the Congo. These attacks have severely paralyzed the regional response to the spreading Bundibugyo Ebola strain. It just proves a grim reality. Medical emergencies simply cannot be solved when the medics themselves are under fire. All right, let's shift gears. Here's Section 4, Politics, Cyber, and Policy. Over in the cyber realm, polarized geopolitical rhetoric is really heating up. So on one side, you have President Trump's administration alleging that Chinese hackers stole a massive database. We're talking files on 220 million US voters in order to orchestrate election interference. Then on the flip side, Beijing's foreign ministry strongly and officially rejects these allegations, calling them entirely unfounded. It is essentially a massive digital standoff playing out right in front of us on the world stage. And speaking of the digital world, get a load of this claim floating around. A total global power outage will plunge the Earth into darkness for 9 straight days. No way, right? Well, this completely fictional, panic-inducing claim went totally viral across Facebook and Instagram today. It's a perfect example of the sheer speed and terrifying reach of digital disinformation. It just preys right on everyone's existing anxieties about global stability. Fact-checkers literally had to scramble to put out this digital wildfire. They've officially debunked the hoax as entirely fabricated, but man, this incident is such a powerful reminder of the immense resources it takes to combat social media illusions, especially on a news day that's already this chaotic. It literally takes seconds to start a rumor, but hours of coordinated effort to shut it down. On the domestic policy front, we've got 2 significant political shifts to look at. First up, overriding scientific pushback, the White House finalized a sweeping environmental rollback redefining the Endangered Species Act. This officially strips protection status from multiple wildlife habitats to open them up for logging, drilling, and mining. And second, over in the Midwest, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley officially jumped back into the highly competitive Democratic primary for Wisconsin governor. He's actually carrying the formal backing of incumbent Governor Tony Evers, so that's definitely shaking up the political lines there. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Sports and Culture. Let's decompress a bit. So, despite some absolutely severe rain-slicked weather, American golfer Jackson Suber is somehow managing to cling to a surprising high-stakes lead at the historic British Open. While all the top-ranked favorites are sliding right down the leaderboard in these chaotic conditions, Suber is stubbornly holding his ground against the elements. Good for him. But, even our scheduled escapes aren't completely immune to nature's chaos. Up in New York, massive anticipation for a marquee interleague showdown ended in total frustration for the fans. Inclement weather in the Bronx actually forced the highly anticipated Saturday Dodgers-Yankees matchup to be postponed. Now it's turning into a high-stakes, split-admission Sunday doubleheader. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really think about. Look at what we just covered. Today alone, we saw war, extreme natural disasters, major cyber claims, and completely fabricated digital hoaxes, all hitting the exact same news cycle simultaneously. In this incredibly interconnected, fast-paced world of ours, your media diet is honestly more important than ever before. So with all that noise out there, how will you choose to verify the facts you consume tomorrow? Thanks so much for diving into all this with me today. I'll catch you in the next explainer.